Hey, it's Anthony Meisner with Land Title. Came to bring your Boulder County market update for the month. Let's talk a little bit about what's happened in February and just where we're headed. So, detached single-family homes have been acting very differently than attached. So, I wanted to start here. The active units of inventory in detached is down about 6.7% from this time last year. February, though, year over year, we actually had less under contracts than we did in January, or I'm sorry, in last February, right? But month over month, the momentum continues to pick up 13% above where it was the prior month. So, we're kind of just muddying our way through the winter time as we kind of usually do. As of everything else, it looks like the average sales price is down about 6%. I was looking into that a little bit more. We can talk about it later, but it definitely is area specific, largely due to Boulder. If you look at the attached market, though, this is where we're really starting to see some really interesting changes. Average sales price is down about 10%, but because average sales price is down 10%, our under contracts all of a sudden have skyrocketed. 27% more under contracts in the attached market than this time last year. Now, there wasn't a ton of them, but that was 100 under contracts. So that's a really good number. It's exciting to see that we're starting to pick up some momentum there. Maybe people are feeling like the value is back. That's always not bad to look at. Now, detached for specifically the inventory, right? So take a look at this. Boulder still has a lot more inventory than everywhere else, 258 units on the market. Longmont sitting at 200 units, which is about 5% more than it had before. But a lot of these markets have less inventory. Lafayette has 21% less. Erie has 18% less. Louisville has 16% less. Superior's 32% less. So less units out in the county, and Boulder is very stable to where it was. But, Longmont showing that little bit of uptick in active units there. So definitely watch your submarkets as this unfolds this year. The attached market, though, a very different story. A lot more coming to market in Boulder. And this is really a shame. You can just see how much attached inventory is active in Boulder. 218 units here. 28% more than this time last year. Same thing out in the county, though. Lots less inventory on the market in a lot of those cities still. Now, if we look at it by price range, take a look at this. Active units on the one side. We have sold units in red. Our sold units, this is fascinating to see year to date, our 3+ million market down 5 units, but the 2.5 to 3 million market has 8 total sales. That's 60% more than this time last year. And the 2 to 2.5 million has 36% more sales. So we are seeing more of that 2 to 3 million market where maybe some of that higher end stuff isn't quite moving as well. The $1.5 to $2 million market down just a few sales from this time last year, but everything below that, we're starting to see a little bit more movement. So 1 to 1.5 million, 27% more. And that would explain why, our average sales price felt a little off in the city of Boulder, because we're just selling more of those units between 1 and 1.5 million. Attached market, though, this is a whole different ballgame right here. We have over 100 units on the market between 300,000 and 400,000, which is so much more than we had a year ago, right? That's 56% more than we had prior. It's 100 units, and that's a tough one, right? Those are entry-level products, but a lot of those are definitely condos, older condos in some cases in Boulder, and that definitely is creating, where's the demand for it, right? And so since we've only seen 19 of those get sold year to date, that's just a huge amount of inventory for a very small pool of buyers there in the attached market. The good news is, though, the sold units from 400 to 800,000 look a lot better than they have otherwise. Just a little bit more activity. Really, at 400 to 600,000 is where we've seen the biggest increase in units going under contract. The luxury market seems a little slower than it was before, too, in the attached market. So keep your eye out on that one. Now, let's look at days on market and month supply of inventory for detached, right? This is by price range. And so when we're talking about multiple offers in the market, and you're really feeling that pinch right now at a lot of these price points, well, it's really happening below that 1.5 million mark because there's only 2 months of inventory from 1 to 1.5 million, but there's way less than that as you approach that 500,000 mark. 1.2 months of inventory, a good house is definitely going to have a lot of buyers looking at it because there's nothing else on the market right now. So this is a really good time to be a seller from what you can tell as a detached single family home. And honestly, they're speeding up so fast this year. Check this out. Most of them are around that, 50, 60 days in MLS range, assuming they're good properties because that's what is going under contract. So that's a good sign. If we flip over to the attached market, you can see really somewhere in that 4 months of inventory range, really 3.5, 4 months at all price ranges. You get into the luxury stuff, yeah, you've got a lot more inventory. It feels more like that detached luxury market where there's a lot to choose from. But the good news about that is, even with those, higher inventory levels than the detached market, we're still seeing them sell in about the same amount of time. Just really means you got to have your pricing dialed, because you have to be the shiniest penny, right? It's just a tough one when you're in that position, but we definitely are seeing some sell. So it's not that nothing is going under contract. Clearly more went under contract, which is a good sign, but I'm assuming that would mean that they are at the right price. So that right price is a tough one to nail down in the attached market. As we've seen that average sales price drop. So take a look at this. This is the detached single family home average sales price. Like I was telling you earlier, the attached home market, the reason we're seeing that negative number right now, that year over year number is -6%. It's largely due to the city of Boulder, because year over year change was 22% drop, right? And that 22% drop just means we've been selling different homes this time of year than we did last year. It's not like housing prices dropped off that much. Buyers are just buying a different product. They're buying a cheaper product. It's pretty clear. So that's interesting to look at. If you look at some of the other markets, you can see that over the last 12 months, a lot of them have seen slight appreciation or just a little bit of depreciation. Lafayette's had the most amount of depreciation in the market, 2.5% in the detached market, really not so bad. But if you look at Longmont, -1%, everywhere else just slightly up. Now, if we look at the attached market, this is the complete flip side of the coin. This market has been hit very hard by the last 3 years, as affordability has been the key, and those HOAs rising and insurance going up and all those factors that play into the attached market. You can see here, Louisville's down 10%, Lafayette's down 14%, Superior down 1.5%, which I actually think is a little misleading, because it actually has been hit harder than you'd think. And Erie's down 3%, but we're talking more townhouses out there, more entry-level townhouses, in fact. So that's why that seemed to be doing a little bit better. But Longmont even down 6.3% too. So tough one going on right there in the attached market. But the last thing I wanted to share, list of sale price. We have a combined list of sale price, both attached and detached here. It's down by 0.3%. So it's slightly better to be a buyer than it was a year ago. And that could largely be due to the added levels of inventory, and heavily weighted, you'd think, to the attached market, but it seems like across both, which is why I shared it together. This is just kind of the trend, right? So buyers definitely clearly have the upper hand in a lot of things. Outside of those couple of really cool properties where you might feel multiple offers, it seems like buyers have been patient and they're really looking for a deal, and they're getting that at the negotiating table right now. So a little bit better than it was, but it's still 98%, right? This is nothing crazy. So I think that's important to share as well. If you have any other questions, need any other information, please reach out to me. I'm Anthony with Land Title, and I'll catch you on the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.